After a wait than more than a year and a half, it finally came out today. And I'm talking about the new Cubase 13. So I'm going to show you my top 5 features and also an overview of everything else that comes with Cubase 13. So let's jump right in because we have a lot to talk about. Okay, I'm gonna start by the obvious before jumping in my top 5 features. So let's look at the fresh look we have on Cubase 13. So this look pretty slick. The design is modern and I kind of like it. If I jump on the mix console, you see it even better. Look at just the faders. You know, the design is again modern, fresh, and very nice to look at. Pretty enjoyable also. Okay, now there's a few things I want to point out here. So if you want to load the rack on your mix console, usually in previous versions, racks were on top here. That has changed and you can load the racks straight from the window layout on the top right of the mix console, and you will find everything you need to load your mix console, like the inserts, the pre-routing, for example, EQ, sands, so on and so forth. And there you go. Now the cool thing also, when you click on the EQ on top right here, you can see that you have way more control. So all the parameters are down below and not only the graphics. And from that same window, you can access the pre-gain and the filters, the high pass and low pass filters, which is also very nice. On the project window, we have something new also. If you look at the zones on top, we have the left zone again, right zone, bottom zone, but also the channel zone, which is on the left side of the left zone. And there you go. It's pretty cool because now you have access to the fader of the channel. So if you're someone who works on a laptop with a smaller computer monitor, that can be useful because at some point, you know, while working with the bottom zone, you know, with the mix console loaded from the project window, it could be a bit crowdy, you know. So by having the channel zoned, it gives us just a bit more space to work with, especially when working from a laptop. So that is actually very nice. You can resize this zone as you wish and load whatever you want by right-clicking and click on Setup Sections. And you can load the sections you want. And there you go. The transport bar at the bottom now has a tap tempo. And that is actually very nice. So you can just tap the tempo that you want and it will load straight on a tempo track on your project. So at the position of my cursor, if I tap on the tap tempo, it's going to find out the tempo I'm tapping and add it to the tempo track, which can be practical to work with. And you can assign that tap tempo to a key command to make it even better. So like older version, we can zoom horizontally. We can go up and down with the scroll mouse by keeping our finger on shift. We can go from left to right, but now by keeping our fingers on shift and the command, if you're on Mac or Control on PC, you can zoom vertically, which is very, very cool. Okay, and by keeping my fingers on Option and Command on Mac or Alt and Control on PC, that will bring up and down the waveform of the audio. Not the actual audio, but only the visual, okay? Which is also very nice. Now, if we jump on the features I am excited about, the first one is the channel configuration. And I've been asking for this one for quite a while, and it's finally in. So basically what that is simple and probably not that simple to implement. It's to convert a full channel from mono to stereo or vice versa from stereo to mono. So I'm not talking about the audio, I'm talking about the channel itself, okay? And that can be practical. It is for me anyways, and I always face a time when I mix a song that I need to convert a mono channel to stereo, even if I have a mono recording in it, so I can use a stereo effect. For example, let me show you what I mean here. So I have this guitar that is a mono recording on a mono track, and I have a virtual amp and also a delay. Now the delay is a ping pong delay, which is the Echo Boy, but at the moment my channel is a mono channel, and this is how it sounds like. Okay, so the delay sounds mono. Now, I could use an effects channel, which is usually what I am going to do, but it's going to happen that on specific channels, I want to process everything within the channel itself. And that could be a good example. So let's say I want to use that delay straight on the channel as an insert. An option that I had before, apart from using an effects channel track, was to create a stereo channel, drag down the mono recording into that stereo channel, and then use a stereo plugin. But now we have this little guy at the bottom, which is the circle icon that shows us the configuration of the channel, which in this case is mono, so one single circle icon, opposed to a figure 8 type of icon. That means that this is a stereo channel. So if I click on that icon, this is what I get now. I have a message saying, do you really want to change the channel configuration? I'm going to click on yes, and right away, in a very quick way, my channel, my mono channel, has become a stereo channel, and now my effect is stereo. So this is the channel configuration, and I love it. Something I always work with when I work in Cubase is the return to start position on stop. And this is when it comes to the cursor. So if I click on play and I stop, it's going to return to the start position. And previously I had to go into preferences, down to transport, and I had to check that option on, which is not existent on Cubase 13 from the preferences window. Now everything is under transport, and it's actually even better. So there's the start mode that is new to Cubase 13, and the return to start position on stop is right there. Or else, if I unselect it and I click on play, when I stop, the cursor will stay at the stop position, okay, but not back at the start position when stopping. Okay, so you go back to start mode and you make sure that the return to start position on top is selected. But even better, look at all the other options we have now. We have start from cycle start, start from selection start, and start from selection or cycle start. Now this is very, very cool. So let's select the start from cycle start and we'll see how that goes. So basically what's going to happen is that the cycle that I have on this project will be the start point when I click on play. So it's going to go straight to the beginning of that cycle and start playing. Okay, if I put it to start from selection part, okay, so I'm gonna select any event, click on play, and it's gonna start from the beginning of that event, which is very nice also. I can also select the start from selection or cycle start. Okay, so I'm gonna set up my cycle. So if I don't have any event selected and I click on play, it's gonna go straight to the beginning of the cycle that I have in my project. But the minute I select an event, it's going to start directly from the beginning of that selection. And that is actually very nice to work with and definitely increases my workflow. So these 3 start modes will determine where your playback will start playing. Next on the list is the import tracks from project enhancements. And I also have new parameters I can select when importing into my session. So events and parts, I'm not going to select it because I don't need to import any parts or events. But if you need to, you now have other options to import those parts and events. And that will include the range, which is pretty cool. So you can actually use the locators within your current project to import the parts within that range, or you can manually change the range to the one that you want, okay? And that can be very, very useful. So this is a very good addition to Cubase 13. At number 4, we have the enhanced key editor. And this one is actually very cool, especially if you're a composer. So I'm going to double click and open a MIDI part, and that will open the key editor at the bottom. I'm going to bring that one up in full page mode, and this is usually what composers are gonna work with. They like to work in the full screen version of the key editor. Now the problem though is that when you need to go from one part to another from different MIDI channels, you need to close that window and open the new part, bring it back to full window, and work on that part, you know. But now we have something new straight in Cubase 13, and this is called the editor visibility, right here on the top right corner of the key editor window. I'm gonna click on it, and there you go. Now on the left side, I have a list of all the MIDI channels that I have in this project. And if they are in folders like they are in this one, the folders are gonna be listed, and you'll be able to just fold them down and look at all the channels. And the cool thing is that you can visually see and pick and choose what you want to see straight in the key editor window. Like for example, I can select the violin, violin 2, and they are all visible within the key editor, which is quite nice. I can do the same for the full content of a folder. So let's bring everything up, and this is how it's gonna look like if all the MIDI parts from this project are visible. It's very cool. And from this point on, you can just tweak whatever you want. You want to work on this note, you click on it, you work on it, you know, and that's it. Very, very simple. You can select moved notes around, so you can easily pick and choose the parts you want to work on, or you can pick and choose what you want to see within the key editor window. On top, that will give you an overview of all the MIDI parts you have. And from this one, you can also, you know, zoom in and out vertically, horizontally, as you wish. You can even edit those MIDI parts as you would from the project window, which is very practical. And if you double click on one part, it will open directly below. Which is again very useful. Something cool you can also do is start recording, even if you have several MIDI channels visible, you know, within the key editor window. So what you do in this case, you select the channel you want to work on from the left zone, and then you just start recording. So let's go and record from this part right here, and let's try it out to see how that goes. There you go. So you can see that I can easily record straight within that MIDI part that I selected on the left side. Very useful. Since we're inside the key editor, let me show you some extra features that were added on Cubase 13. So I'm going to look at the step input that we have on top, which allows us to record MIDI notes in steps, which can be very easy for someone who is not a piano or keyboard player. Now, something cool that we can now do is to change the length of a note that I'm recording on the fly as I record them, which is nice. So for this to work, it's very simple. I'm going to press the note of my MIDI controller, and I'm going to keep my finger pressed on that note and just move the right arrow from my computer keyboard, and that will add some length to my note. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I can do the same, or if it's too long, I can bring it back a bit, you know. I can add some steps, continue recording, you know. We also have a new polyphonic note input within the step input. Okay, so if we click on the MIDI step, and I'm going to select the first note, what I can do now, I can just play a chord. And there you go. It's going to erase the selected note, the note I selected at first, and replace it with the chord I just played. Now, if I want to keep the original note I selected, I'm going to make sure that this little guy, the keep existing notes, is active. So this way, when I record my chord, it's going to keep the original note. Again, very cool to work with. Okay, one more thing I want to show you here is the range selection tool that is now available within the key editor window, which is very nice. I'm gonna click on 2 or just select it from the top, and there you go. I now have the range selection tool within the key editor. I can do whatever I want with it, which is pretty nice. I can even split those notes into several notes by clicking Shift X, and there you go. I can move them over or copy them over by keeping my finger on Option or Alt if you're on PC. Stuff like that. So this is another very cool thing that we have in the key editor window that can be very useful when working with MIDI. So I'm going to package the next features under one feature, which are new plugins, a virtual instrument, and also a bunch of sample packs that were added to this version of Cubase. So I'm not going to go through the sample packs that were added, but I'm going to just give you a quick look at the virtual instrument that we have within this new version of Cubase, and we are talking about Iconica Sketch. Just have a quick listen. It has more than 5 gigabytes of samples to work with within this virtual instruments. It's just insane. Sounds very good, as you can tell. So that is the actual demo session that is also included in Cubase 13. So you'll be able to open this session up to explore what's inside Iconica Sketch. And we have 6 new mixing plugins to look at in today's video. So I'm going to give you a quick look at what they are. So first, we have a new compressor. Actually, we have like a couple of new compressors. The first one is Black Valve, which is actually a vintage classic type of tube compressor that sounds warm with lots of character. And let's just listen to it straight on this drum loop. So I'm going to bypass the plugin to begin. So let's activate Black Valve. Cool, I kind of like it. It has a nice attack time. It's a tube type of compressor, so the attack time is a bit slower. And there's also a drive knob here. Oh yeah. Let's increase the gain. Let's overdo it. Okay, now I'm going to play with the wet and dry knob here. If I bring down the mix knob, that will make the compressor work in parallel. That's pretty cool. Very nice. So this is the type of compressor that can work on several different sources, like overdoing it like I'm doing right now on a drum loop. That could be also a very good candidate for vocals if you work with it in a smoother way, of course. Bass can sound very good using this plugin also. So this is Black Valve. Then let's go and check what else we have. I'm going to go straight on this vocal channel. And we have another compressor, but this one is designed for vocals. So let's have a listen.
Trouvé par la rosée, je fuis vers l'infiniment petit. Le regard tourné vers lui, mon firmament, il brille d'un amour extravagant.
I kind of like this. Now there's lots going on under the hood, I assume.
Trouvé par la rosée, je fuis vers l'infiniment petit. Le regard tourné vers lui.
And it doesn't tame the clarity of the vocals also. So I don't know what's happening under the hood, but it's probably like a blend of different types of compressors with maybe upward compression also. I don't know, but it sounds pretty good on vocals. Now, there's no EQ on this vocal yet, so let's add some. And at the same time, I'm going to present to you this brand new plugin, which is a kind of a replica of the Pultec EQ, which you probably know of. So this plugin comes in two versions. There's the EQ P1A and the EQ M5, which will take care more of the full mid-range. So let's first try the EQ P1A.
Trouvé par la rose et je fuis vers l'infiniment petit, le regard tourné vers lui.
If you don't know how to work with a Pultec EQ and how it behaves, I made a specific video talking about the Pultec EQ only. So I'm going to link it below. Check it out, and you'll know exactly what to do with this type of EQ. So it's a very good plugin that has a very nice tone, nice vintage color, very smooth. Good if you want to add a bit of a top end to a signal like vocals. It's going to keep the vocal clear without adding like harshness and stuff, okay? Now, for the mid-range, I'm going to add a bit of the M5, the EQ M5, by just taming down the low mids a bit.
Trouvé par la rose et je fuis vers l'infiniment petit, le regard tourné vers...
Okay, so I have the mid-range attenuation right here, but I also have the low boost, which will go with the low frequency knob, and the high boost, which will go with the high frequency knob here, okay? So you can increase frequencies or attenuate the mid-range frequencies. So very nice to work with. So if we listen to this channel, I'm going to bring back the compressor and just see how it sounds like.
Trouvé par la rose et je fuis vers l'infiniment petit, le regard tourné vers lui, mon firmament il brille d'un amour extravagant.
That sounds actually pretty good. Okay, next on the list, and this one is a big one. It's the vocal chain. Look at this. It's a plugin designed for vocals. So there's a bunch of processing on the left side that you can add to your vocal recording and mix that up, you know. Very, very nice to work with. So there's a filter on top. There's a gate, even pitch correction, which is an auto pitch corrector, a bit like auto-tune. There's a de-esser, a dynamic EQ 1 because there's two. There's also two compressors, so you have access to the first one right on top for a more clean sound. And there's a EQ that is available on the clean part of the plugin. Then if you want to add a bit more character and you want to add more, you can add an exciter for more harmonics, saturation, which sounds pretty good, a second compressor if you want to. And talking about the compressor and EQ, compressor, you have the choice between the black valve, the Vox Comp, or a more transparent type of compressor, and also an extreme one if you want to. So which is very nice. And so this one I'm going to keep it too transparent. Then a second dynamic EQ, a second EQ, and again, you have the choice between the studio EQ, the P1A, or the M5 EQ, which is very cool. Okay, so at first I added a studio traditional digital EQ, and the second EQ I'm using the P1A just to add a bit more color, more vibe to the sound. There's a second de-esser also. All of these units here can be moved around within their own section, so I can move around the de-esser if I want to and bring it at first, you know, or keep it at last or in the middle. That is up to me. So you can move those around, which is practical. Then we have the send section, an imager, we have a delay, and a reverb. Now the delay can be sent straight to the reverb if we activate this part here, and vice versa, the reverb can go straight to the delay also, okay? And you just need to increase the send level to have more effect. Now, if I was to use a delay and a reverb out of this plugin, I would probably use it on a stereo channel. Now, a vocal recording is mono, but I would convert my channel to stereo. So this is a very good use of using the new channel configuration option and switch that to a stereo channel, which I already did. As you can see, it's now a stereo channel, and now my delay and reverb will sound stereo. So let's have a quick listen to what we have here.
Le regard tourné vers lui, mon firmament il brille d'un amour extravagant. quand.
That's pretty cool. And within that delay and reverb, we also have a filter, which also is very useful when working with delays and reverbs. So this is the vocal chain. Very cool plugin. Now, the last one I want to show you, and this one is actually very cool. It's a comeback, actually, that comes from an older version of Cubase. I don't even remember which one it was last seen on, maybe SX3. I don't know. Let me know down below if you know the answer. But we are talking about the Vocoder. Look at that. The Vocoder is back in Cubase 13, and it works very, very well. Okay, so I'm going to activate it, and as default it's going to be set up to fixed, and if we listen to this vocal with the vocoder on, this is how it's going to sound like. All right, so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a MIDI channel. Okay, and now I have something new that is also new to Cubase 13, and it's the ability to select a MIDI output straight out of this MIDI channel. And then I'm going to have access to, if I activate it first, I'm going to have access to the sidechain of a channel. And if I bring the MIDI fix to MIDI external, I'm going to see that vocoder straight from the output of a MIDI channel. So let's go back and create that channel, and the output, I'm going to look for the vocoder, which is this one. Click on add a track, and the only thing left for me to do is to add some notes on this MIDI channel, and there you go. I added some chords, and let's have a listen. That is very cool and so easy to set up. So I love the comeback of the Cubase vocoder. So there's other very nice features out of this new version of Cubase, like the chord pad, for example, that has a brand new look. And you also have on this chord pad the chord editor on the right side now, that you can switch to the list and the circle of fifth if you wish to. And there's also a bunch of new chord progression presets that you can select from, which is very cool to work with. You can even change the root key and start from this point. And the sampler track also has some new features, like the audio warp modes. There's a spectral HD, spectral vocal that were added, and also the way you can just work the envelopes, which can be pretty nice to work with. And there's an undo and redo option within the sampler, which again can be practical. So the sampler on its own can be a full video, so I'm going to leave it at that for this one. Then we have the key commands window that also had a quick revamp. Now on top we have this little menu where we can look at all the commands that are assigned originally by Cubase, the ones that you customized yourself, and all the ones that are unassigned, or you can just look at them all. And the cool thing is that now when you set up a new macro or an existing macro that you already have, you can run the macro to test it straight from the key commands window, and this is very useful. So you don't need to close the key commands window, try the macro on its own and come back and do the tweaks and stuff. You can just do everything within the same window, and this is a huge time saver when creating macros. There's also track versions for videos and also revamp looks for the MIDI plugins. What else do we have here? Yeah, MIDI 2.0 is also supported on Cubase 13. So there you have it. This is the new Cubase 13. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you're planning on getting yourself an upgrade to this new version of Cubase, and also which of the features you like the most so far. Hope you enjoyed this video. Take care and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.